Are you worried about Australian rugby, the state of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is, because like you're seeing us sort of tumble down the picking order in the sense of rankings, viewership, and even like competition. Like I've been watching a bit of Super Rugby this year. So I didn't watch it for a while, but since I came back in and started playing again, into the Australian fold, I started, making friends with a lot of the guys that I didn't know from a different era. And so I love watching and supporting those guys. But it's also a little bit sort of sad to see the state of rugby, because everybody in the country wants rugby to do well. And if rugby does well, there's another avenue for a lot of guys to be able to come into a professional environment. So if we lose rugby, there's going to be like AFL and rugby league. So there's going to be a lot of guys missing out on the opportunity. So once we had 3 healthy sports, there's a lot of talent coming through. There's enough talent to be able to spread through all of those, but the games need to be run well, and I guess rugby needs to be doing well on the international stage.
How do they make the Super Rugby comp stronger, or people to care about that part of the game?
So one of the things with in the locker room, on the bus, and that, like, all the players always have this conversation, and there's lots of different views on it. My view is, like, if you think back to sort of the COVID period where everybody was forced to do their own domestic sort of seasons. So Australia, one of the biggest things is that perception is reality. So when we're in a competition with New Zealand at the moment, especially with the state of our game, so there's 5 teams at the minute. We've just lost Melbourne, but whilst there was 5 teams, every week, let's say we're playing against the 5 New Zealand teams, we'd be lucky if we had 1 winner throughout that. So the perception is that we're terrible. And then you go and play Wallabies against the All Blacks, as you just said, we won the Bledisloe in like 22 years. So again, the perception is that we're terrible. So then, whilst that COVID period, we sort of took New Zealand out of it and we just played against each other. So each week there was an Australian team winning. So if you follow the Waratahs, you follow the Reds or whatever, you always knew that your team had a good possibility of winning. Or if they won one week, they might lose the next. So there was like healthy rivalry. Within that, perception just started to become that to young kids who don't know about the opposition or the history of it, they just see their team winning. So when it got to the final, Queensland, I can't remember who they played, might have been the Brumbies, I imagine. They played the Brumbies and Suncorp was pretty much sold out again. And it was the first time since when we won the comp in that you saw Suncorp filled for a domestic rugby game. So if I think about it like that, and perception is reality, if we strip it back, and I know that it's more of a long game, that you start with the 5 teams, you play each other sort of twice or even 3 or 4 times to be able to get the amount of games. That product can start at a small scale, but you're going to keep fans in. And then you just start introducing other teams. Like I'm not saying this is the right way to do it, but for example, Queensland, you might introduce a North Queensland team. You might introduce a Queensland country or New South Wales country, things like that. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but I think that the perception needs to come back that your team's winning so you can build the fan base again.
Yep.
But also the club system is very, very healthy here. So if we can find a way to tap into that, whether again, like that domestic comp becomes, you have the Shoot Shield, which is the New South Wales comp. You have Queensland's comp, there's another comp in WA, and get those healthy. Basically, you select a representative team from those. So that's sort of one way to be able to do it, in my opinion. But again, like, it's just about, bro, like really stripping it back and saying, hey, we got to this point at the moment, we're diving down. How can we sort of start again and recapture the imaginations of the local people, our local fan base, build that up? And if you think about the NRL, you go back like 20 years. So they slowly built it up to what it is now. You essentially got to do the same with rugby. Because everybody wants a quick fix and go, okay, well, let's grab Japan and introduce some of their teams, take some of the money that they have in Japan, and we'll make a quick fix. Or we'll try and get a big investor and make this competition interesting by changing the rules or so forth. I think the fan base is the first place we've got to start.